everyone. This is your host, Toni Vanschoyck, here on Simple Wealth, WELLth, and we talk about all the things that are great for your health, your wealth, and your overall well-being. I am super excited today because I have an awesome guest speaker. I'm so glad that one of my really good friends connected me with her sister. And, you know, really, your entire family, Abbie, has done, you know, a lot of things in, you know, overall health and wellness, you know, because I've known your sister Maggie for almost 10 years now. And, I've been following your entire family's journey. So real quick, I want to do just a awesome introduction. And you guys, please make sure that you are sharing the podcast, sharing the show. Tune in here on Spotify and Apple at Simple Wealth. And then also on our YouTube, we have the live recording. And you can also go in and ask questions, and we can also answer those for you as well. But make sure you're sharing because we want to get this information out to everybody, because a lot of you, what you're going to hear today from Dr. Abbie Ballard is going to blow your mind. We've had conversations, but I just want to properly introduce her. She's an expert in the field of functional medicine. She loves to bring her passion for holistic health and alternative medicine to the masses through both one-on-one care and virtual learning. She has 15 years of clinical experience, sees hundreds of patients per month, and is on a mission to redefine healthcare for the people looking for real answers. Woo woo! All right. So you guys, I am so honored to bring Abbie to you today. Chiropractic care, it has been our main modality since I've been 22 years old, since my kids have been like practically born. We religiously see our chiropractor every 2 weeks. So, kudos to you. But Abbie, you have been in your field for quite a long time, but I want to hear from your perspective how you got from, because you went to school and you were going to become like a regular doctor. And then you had this path that kind of took you off a little bit of the beaten road, because, I really think even 15 years ago, chiropractic care was still kind of not as mainstream as it is now. But tell us a little bit about you and your journey.
No, absolutely. It was one of those things where sometimes God just knows where you're supposed to be and he'll change your journey for you. So I was one of those people who always knew what they were supposed to do. And since I grew up on a farm, I tried veterinary medicine as a child, and just as a vet tech, decided pretty quickly that was not for me. Started working in pharmacies, loved that. But because of my own personal pride, thought, why be a pharmacist when I can be the one that writes the scripts? So ultimately, I ended up in a pre-med program. During that time, I continued to work in pharmacies. And then I also worked for a couple of med school professors at SIU when I was in the pre-med program, doing like PhD research. We did gene expression therapy studies, and it just was not enough personal interaction for me. But I knew that I was going to be in school forever. So I started college at 15, taking night classes, going to summer school, just trying to get ahead. And I continued that, I guess you'd call it an accelerated path, all through undergrad. So by the time I was done, I had taken every class as fast as I could and worked 2 jobs. So I really hadn't studied for my MCAT. And I was trying to figure out those next steps. And I didn't want to take just a random job while I was studying. That didn't feel like paths forward. So a friend had suggested chiropractic school. He said, at least you'll earn the credits that then will transfer to med school. And I thought, that's a great idea, actually. So you're absolutely correct. I made it 80% of the way through chiropractic school, honestly, still believing that outdated model that chiropractors were there for neck pain and back pain and migraines. And that's about all we were good for. We were kind of half-rate medical doctors. And I honestly can't say that there was a whole lot of philosophy in my personal chiropractic school that changed my mind about that. What did change my mind about it? In my 8th trimester of 10, chiropractic school, just for those of you who don't know, is a 5-year program. So med schools are typically going to be 3 to 4, depending on what track you take, because there are things called 3 to 3 programs. But anyway, typically med school is going to be 4 years, and then you're going to have your internships and then your specialization. So you end up at about 12. Chiropractic is 5 years. We don't have any in like hospital training or something like that. Basically, from that point, you go and you learn on your own. So I was 80% of the way through, and I went on a mission trip. And on that mission trip, there was a kid that got adjusted that then stopped having neurological tics. And I realized I had missed the entire point of my profession. There was a doctor on that trip that was the speaker. His name is Patrick Gentempo. His company created technology that allows us to monitor the nervous system. And when I say monitor the nervous system, we have multiple technologies that allow me to see things like heart rate variability to understand the adaptability of the nervous system. We have thermography to help me see imbalances in what's called autonomic function. So I can actually see if we're not regulating blood vessels, glands, organs correctly. And they had technology as well for me to be able to see if we are not regulating the muscular system, a condition that's called dyskinesis. But I see that a lot in kids with focus, attention, behavioral problems, sensory issues, autism, anxiety, etc. So long story short, I realized I had the potential not just to say, hey, I'm changing the nervous system, but to be able to literally monitor it and track it over time. And then once I realized that in chiropractic, I also had the ability to write my own labs, to make diet and lifestyle recommendations, to give targeted nutritional intervention, then I realized I could be better than the average doctor who is confined to whatever parameters administration at their particular hospital sets. So it opened up a whole new world of possibility for me. And I knew if one adjustment could change the life of a child like that, I needed to explore that. And I could start with the youngest among us to truly have an impact on lifelong health and wellness. And by reaching families like that, I had the potential to change whole communities.
That is amazing. Totally amazing. And isn't it funny how God opens one door and shuts another one? Because I truly believe, based on our conversations that we've had and our messaging back and forth, that this truly is your calling.
Yeah.
I definitely feel that. So you talked a little bit about how you're serving your patients, and doing that. But I know that a lot of doctors, and I was so impressed with this. I was like, my technological geek came out when you when you told me that to reach more people, that you have created an incredible platform. So can you tell us a little bit more about your digital platform and how you're helping more people globally?
Yeah, absolutely. In my brick and mortar practice, you're just kind of bottlenecked. There's only so many interactions that you can have in a day. I love and I have a passion for functional medicine, and I wanted to be able to reach more people. I mean, just for example, last night I had an in-person class at my office talking about the chiropractic stuff. It's called the Neurostorm. At that at that class, I'm sitting with a mom. She's telling me about her daughter who has anxiety. The whole time I'm watching her break out all up her neck, just rashing like crazy. And I'm listening. She tells me about her daughter. We put together a game plan. And then I say, listen, do you have terrible cycles, like heavy, painful bleeding? And she said, yeah, I went on an IUD for that. Well, how do you know? And I said, you're having a crazy histamine reaction right now. And histamine and estrogen are tied together. So there's no part of me that thinks that you have normal cycles. And this is not just a histamine issue. This is an immune system issue. And I can't correct this for you while you have that IUD because it's going to influence your immune system. So I can't have those one-on-one interactions with everybody. Usually I only have an hour of my day that I can actually sit down and do those one-on-one consultations. But she told me she'd seen multiple providers, her OB, her general practitioner, they give her no answers. And I'm going, that's ludicrous. I can look at you and tell you you're having histamine reactions. And because I understand functional immunology, I know which portion of your immune system's out of control right now. How's she going to get those answers if she's already seen multiple traditional providers and it hasn't even occurred to them, or they don't know that there's that connection there? So really what I wanted to do in order to reach more people was put this in a platform where you can go, you can get a basics class, you can get the next step up. I get so excited about this information. Who's really pumped to go over the results of hormone testing and stool testing? Me. I cannot wait to tell you about your microbiome. But I always think that we just need a little more guidance. We need a little more explanation. And so that's what I wanted to do. I started with thyroid classes, but the thyroid does not work in a vacuum. So I will have more classes coming soon to help you understand the way that the adrenals and the way that the female hormones or male hormones tie in to create a strong hormonal base for the thyroid. Eventually, I'd love to have a membership program my most favorite class to teach is called the medicine cabinet swap. So people can come in and say, hey, I'm dealing with anxiety. And I can go, okay, listen, these are the nutrients that create the neurotransmitters. You have to have these other nutrients in order to convert these neurotransmitters into your more finished neurotransmitter, if you will. So if we're going to take tryptophan down, and we're going to take tryptophan and we're going to take tyrosine into dopamine and serotonin. Well, I can tell you right now, you need vitamin C, you need vitamin D, you need iron, you need more B vitamins in order to take them from their intermediaries into serotonin and dopamine. You need pyridoxal 5-phosphate, which is B6. I'm going to tell you guys those things so that before you give up and go on to maybe an antidepressant, you can make sure that you go to your doctor and say, I want an iron panel and a ferritin. I want my vitamin D checked. I want to make sure that my red blood cell magnesium is good. So this is the way that I teach people in my class, educate in my office. And I just wanted to be able to bring that level of understanding to people. If you know what I know, you know how to advocate for yourself. And if you don't advocate for yourself and you're in the middle of the road, you're going to get run over in America's healthcare system. That's just how it is.
No, I mean, because most Western medical doctors are conditioned to prescribe, not discuss. You know, it was funny. I saw this quote the other day. If your doctor is, you know, prescribing, he's a drug dealer. And if he's not having a discussion about your lifestyle and what you're eating, which is so key for all of us. And now we have to be more diligent than ever because they have weaponized the water, the food, and the air.
100%. Yeah.
Yep. So I love this. And I love that you mentioned microbiome. I talk a lot about that. You guys, what she's talking about, that's your gut flora. So you have to be spot on, and you have to have it tested to see what. I'm so glad. I didn't even know that when we were talking before. So that really just lit my fire. So you have this incredible, platform to educate. You should have a membership committee. I was just talking to actually my local farmer that's here who does regenerative farming, all organic, to the hilt. His episode comes out next Monday, and then yours will be after that following Monday. But he was talking about the importance of, so much, like, and I know that you guys have, you guys raise cattle and animals in your family and stuff like that. So very important that we are, really advocating for farm raised meat and produce and eggs and all the things. But the great thing is that, we talked about, you having the membership program. What is the future for Dr. Abbie Ballard look like in order to educate and to serve and to create more of this? You definitely, because you're so well spoken, you need to be on stage speaking more. I'm telling you right now.
Because education is the thing that I love. I always say, just as a testament to how broken the American medical system is. And I say this enough that my buddy used it in the book that he wrote that's called The Autoimmune Solution. What we do in American healthcare is that we manage diseases. And what we do is we medicate and fail, we medicate and fail, we medicate and fail until we come up with a combination of side effects and symptoms that you can live with. And we call that well managed. That's not well managed. What we need to do is start looking fundamentally at the problems that people have. And so what I want to do with my educational platform is give you basic doctor knowledge. That's we all deserve to understand our bodies and how they work. And it's more complicated than I think most doctors just want to get into. And I don't know if it's that they think the layperson is not going to understand, or maybe they don't have the skills to relay it to those patients or break it down in an easy format. That's what I want my classes to be. And I want you to have that kind of understanding. If this and this are the situation. So let's say we're talking about the thyroid, for example. If we just check a TSH, that is not even remotely a good enough look at the thyroid. TSH is a pituitary hormone. And really the way I want you to think about it moving forward is that you're measuring the thyroid's responsiveness to the pituitary. So if it's high, your numbers are high, that thyroid is dragging. It's taking more and more signaling to get it to kind of get up off the couch and go do what you want it to do. a hyperthyroid, your TSH numbers are going to be low. But we're just measuring the thyroid's responsiveness. If you want to see what the thyroid can do, you need a T4 test. And then if you want to see if we can actually convert that into the active form of the thyroid hormone, you need a T3 test. So these are the things that I want to teach. And I want to have all of this information for each of the hormone systems and then start working into the individual conditions. After chiropractic school, I've had a lot of additional training because I'm a nerd and this stuff, it just gets me going. But nonetheless, I have 200 hours in pediatrics, another couple hundred in functional medicine, 100 in clinical nutrition. And right now I'm working through a functional immunology program so that I can put all these things together. But everybody deserves a doctor that cares enough to put in those extra hundreds of hours. Because what good am I to you if you come into my office and I replace your medicine with a supplement? It's probably going to be more expensive than that supplement is. I need to understand what's going on, and you need to understand what's going on with your body so that we can start to figure out which dominoes fell and set them back up. That's corrective care. That's what I'm after. And I want you to have access to that and someone who has that as their priority. So moving forward, you're going to see more classes rolling out. I will do my very best to be better on social media platforms. It's not my forte. It's a running joke among me and my sisters that Abbie's not good at social media. I just have too much to say and I can't get it done in a minute. But nonetheless, more classes rolling out. Eventually I'm going to have a membership program. That's my ultimate goal. And then maybe, like you say, one of these days I'll be on stages, but for the meantime, I'll work on getting those classes recorded and out to everybody watching.
You need to be speaking. You have a natural gift for it. I can already tell by the dialogue that we're having, and you have so much knowledge. So I want to go back and I want to talk about corrective care. Okay. Because absolutely, very few doctors talk about this. And, it's the one thing that if we can just reach one listener and just say, okay, if your doctor is not giving you the answers that you need, I've seen this happen time and time again, being around the people that I've been around, having the discussions, is that oftentimes especially in Western medicine, and especially women, not so much men, but women are dismissed, when they're talking about, their brain fog or their pain or their menstrual cycles, anything like that. Case in point, I just had a really good friend. Her daughter went through a very, very serious surgery. She had stage 4 endometriosis, and that could have totally been changed. She should have never undergone the knife. It could have been changed, but at the time she didn't know. Now they know much, much better. But let's just say someone's walking in and they're going to see, their GP, right? Their general practitioner or their family physician or whoever, and they're being dismissed. And let's just say they're referred to specialists, they're not getting their questions answered. What are some key things that, someone can do in order to get the answers that are not being answered, or their medical issues aren't being addressed and they're just being passed on or passed off as it's all in your head? I've talked to so many people about that. So Abbie, what can people do in order to circumvent that?
Sure. It's a bit of a loaded question because ultimately in the end, you have to advocate for yourself, and we can feel diminished because you walk in and there's automatically that air of authority. The prescription gives that air of authority. They can do something that I can't do. I'm telling you, these doctors are humans. I have zero problem as a provider writing a letter to them. I have zero problems getting on the phone. I can't say that that's the case for every provider. There's an air of intimidation, but just know nobody knows your body like you. You just need to find a doctor that cares enough to look and to listen. There are a couple different regulatory bodies or certification bodies, maybe is the word I'm looking for, within my profession, that you can look to their directories to find doctors who have training. So I went through Functional Medicine University. There's also the Institute of Functional Medicine that you can check out, and you can check out their provider portals and you can look for someone. I'm just going to tell you this. If you are struggling email me. I will help you. I really don't mind doing that. And this is not a ploy to bring you into my office. My office is full. That's why I started recording online classes. But I want to find you help, and I don't want you to have to wait months to get it. That's really the thing I think is the easiest place to kind of start. Just know, in traditional medicine, I often, if I'm checking out the thyroid, I also am going to do hormone testing for the adrenals, for the female hormones, and I'm going to check your blood sugar because they're all intimately connected. Unfortunately, sometimes when I write a provider request letter to, say, your medical doctor and say, listen, I want a TSH, a free T3, a total T3, free T4 and total T4, thyroid peroxidase antibodies, thyroglobulin antibodies. I want an A1C, an insulin, a C-peptide, a CRP. I want all these things. It's not uncommon for them to go, well, if you need these things, you need to see an endocrinologist. And then they'll push you off. And it's deeply frustrating. They have the capability of writing those labs. And so sometimes what you just need to say is, I'm not willing to go to that step until you do the labs that prove that I need to.
Yep.
Don't feel free to draw a hard line in the sand. And if your provider won't work with you, it's time to find a new provider.
Yep.
These are not always, sometimes people will ask me, well, what doctor will do this for me? What doctor will do that for? They all should, because you're their patient and we should be prioritizing your health.
Right.
Sometimes they get their needs taken out by hospital policy. But find that doctor who cares enough to listen. And if you can say, hey, this is another provider I'm seeing, and they suggested this, if they won't take that suggestion, get out of there.
Yep.
So again, Institute of Functional Medicine, you can look for providers there. The Functional Medicine University, you can look for providers there. You can email me if you're really struggling. The other thing I wanted to mention, oh my gosh, I just totally forgot what I was going to say because I have so many thoughts all the time.
Yeah, I suffer from the same thing.
So I was going to tell you, it is my preference for functional medicine providers, and this is not always the case, but my preference is that you look for a chiropractor or you look for a naturopath.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times, and this is not all the time, so, don't blow up Toni's comments, but I find that when MDs, DOs, nurse practitioners, physician's assistants get into functional medicine, they do functional testing and they go right back to prescribing because they don't have that background. As a chiropractor, if I give you a supplement and it doesn't work, it's my fault.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm a medical doctor and I give you a pill and it doesn't work, it's the pill's fault. So, and that's just how people's perception is. And so we have to be ultimately, I think, not better doctors, but we have to be more skilled in figuring out which supplement is most right for you to get better outcomes faster, because we're just not granted quite as much grace as the medical system, which has been kind of what we all grew up and are used to. Again, that's just what I've seen in clinical practice. Take it with a grain of salt.
The other thing that I want to make very clear here is that it is your health. You have to hold your provider, your doctor accountable. And if they don't, remember, they're serving you. You aren't serving them. The other thing I found really interesting, and I posted this on my story the other day, is that there's an influencer that I follow, and he's always talking about all things natural and everything like that. The average doctor in America right now, okay, if they're recommending the entire, okay, I'm just going to say this. I have a vax injured child. I do not believe in them. All of the research that I've done, this is my opinion. It is based on the research that I have done. But if a pediatrician or a family doctor recommends all of the shots that are given right now annually, a year, if they have a full practice, they are bringing in an extra $1.5 million.
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money. And so, again, you always go back to the money, right? Always go back to the money. There is not one thing that Big Pharma has done as far as a prescription medication that has cured anything. It only masks the symptoms. And that's a fact, right?
Yeah.
So my whole thing is that you guys listen to her. You have to be an advocate. Abbie, I'm just throwing this out there. It would be great if you had like a PDF of all of this that you could just, give out to people, like if they were emailing you or something like that. It's so important for people, and especially your children, man. You got to advocate, especially for your children right now in this day and age.
Yeah.
So my next question to you is that, with all of your learning, all of your knowledge, all of this expertise that you have, what would you say has been the lesson in disguise? And I always call it a lesson in disguise, that obstacle, a big failure that you had to overcome. What was that for you in your career of who you were, back when you started during this journey of yours into where you are now? What would you say would be the biggest lesson in disguise?
There have been a couple. One of the big things that you have to do as, I think, both a patient and a provider, is that you have to be willing to say the hard things. And it's not always fun. It's really not always fun. And I always tell my patients when I sit down, listen, it's my job. You're quite literally paying me to give you my best recommendation. And it's your job to decide what to do with it. I learned this lesson the hard way with one of my dearest friends. She brought in her baby to me. She came in initially because her baby was breached. And with adjustments, we balanced the structures of the pelvis and the support structure of the uterus. Baby turned, she had a normal vaginal delivery. Anyway, over the course of the next year, I'm watching her daughter develop, and I'm seeing red flags, but I love them and I don't say anything. And I'm watching, and keeping in mind now her daughter is, oh gosh, how old is she now? 12? Anyway, I'm watching these things happen, and I'm thinking the whole time that the shape of her head is not right. Something's up, but I don't know what it is. Fast forward 5 years. Now she's in Kentucky working to get a diagnosis for her daughter because her pediatrician finally said to her, have you ever noticed that her head shape is really odd? Like, I think that there might be something underlying going on. And then she says this to me, and I said, yeah, I knew that. And she said, why didn't you say anything? I'm like, I don't know. I don't have an answer for that. And I have thought about it and felt guilty about it. But you have to have those hard conversations with people. When I have kids who come in with chronic ear infections, there's typically something in their diet that's causing a problem, because in embryology, that's how we develop something called the first and third pharyngeal arches. They migrate. How much of a pain in the ass it is to look at that mom and say, that kid that you're pumping full of dairy, get them off dairy, and how resistant those moms are. That it sucks. It sucks when you have people come in and you tell them all the things that you've been doing were likely to fail because you never had this test done that would have told you the right way to go. It sucks. When a person comes in and they want pain relief, they want 4 visits, and I got to tell them, you need 36. That conversation sucks because you don't want to be seen as the grabbing money. You want to give them what they want, but you also have to give people what they need. Mm-hmm. And it's hard to show up at your medical doctor's office and say, listen, I don't feel like you've ever listened to me, but this is what needs to happen. Yep. I don't know more than you, but I can tell you, I know my body more than you. And this is still what's happening. We have to just have hard conversations. I didn't have a hard conversation with one of my staff members. She quit when I was on maternity leave. And I came back to a practice that was at 20% of what it was when I went on maternity leave 10 weeks earlier. And that's on me. I didn't have that hard conversation. So don't be afraid to just say the thing that you need to say to move yourself forward. Mm-hmm. And I have to do that every day. I have to think about, oh God, I got to tell them they need more care, even though their symptoms aren't where I wanted them to be at this point. How do you do that? But you have to do it, because ultimately that's my job. And your job as the patient is to show up and have those honest conversations with your provider and go, what we've been doing is not working for me. What's next? And then hold them, like you say, hold them accountable to figuring out a plan for you, plan A, B, or C.
Yep. Awesome. Okay. So for our listeners out there, I would love to, you've already given great advice and suggestions. In closing, tell us one non-negotiable that people have to have hearing this? Let me narrow it down. What is the one thing that people have to do in order to have optimal health?
You have to be willing to change course. That's what you have to be. You have to be at least flexible. I have core values on my windows. They're integrity, dedication, compassion, and fun. I was joking the other day because I had a patient who was doing a scan. She was my last patient of the day. Everybody else was already gone. I hid behind the door and jumped out and scared her for fun. Because I do this, I just am. But anyway, you got to have a little bit of flexibility in your day. Like, I know I just needed a little something for levity at the end of that hard day. So I can be flexible with my patients. I can be the fun doctor. I can be the stern doctor. But every single day I'm going to show up with integrity for them. I need them to be flexible with their time, flexible with their expectations, flexible with their needs, with their demand. I need them though to show up and tell me, like, listen, what we've been doing, I got to change it. And I'm going to meet them there. Or, hey, this supplement worked great. What's the next step of the plan? I'm going to help them figure that out. Sometimes I'm going to tell them everything we've been doing, we're going to stop now and we're going to change course completely. But we have to be flexible and you have to be honest with yourself, show up with integrity for yourself, and know that sometimes it's okay to throw in the towel and say, well, that didn't work at all. There is no one diet that's right for everyone. There is no one supplement that's right for everyone. There's no one lifestyle, no one exercise routine. It's just not the way. We're all physiologically, biologically, genetically, we're different. And so you have to be flexible about the changes that you need to make. You have to be flexible when sometimes it means finding a different doctor. And you have to be flexible with granting your doctor grace when they jump out from behind a door to scare you for fun. But flexibility and that willingness to change course, I think, is the biggest thing.
Okay. All right. So that was awesome. That was awesome. And then what would be one key thing that people should steer clear of or not do?
When you know that there's something wrong, you just can't give up. That's the thing. You just can't quit trying. That's our whole life. I mean, at the end of things, your life is just the series of decisions that you've made. That's all you've got is your choices. And so if you choose to just accept this is good enough, you'll never know if it could have been better. If you just choose to accept this is my crossbear, this is genetics, well, then how are you ever going to be at 100% health when you just go, this is what my family. I just had a patient in the other day who said, maybe my anxiety and depression is genetic because my mom and my dad and my grandma all dealt with it. And I said, maybe. Or maybe you have methylation defects that have never been supported properly. And that can be done. And you can get over your anxiety and your depression. Have you thought of this? When we think of patients with MS or those sort of conditions, have you gotten off gluten? Because gluten can mimic neurological tissue. So if your body's attacking your neurological tissue, get the hell off gluten. Like sometimes there's just things there and people have given up. I don't know what else to do with my diet. I don't know what else to do with my lifestyle. And we just accept that this is the best I can do. This is the best I've got. And maybe in that particular part of your life, it is. But when you're ready to go and start looking, if you need help, I will help you, or I will find you a person that will help you. Just don't give up. Keep trying. Keep looking. You'll find answers eventually. You just got to get plugged in with the right people.
I love that you said that. And I want to just talk about this real quick because, again, this is my opinion and based on all of the research that I've done. How many diseases, and I put that in quotes because space EASE, mm-hmm. Do you truly think that are genetic?
I mean, there's not a ton. When we get into the chromosomal additions and deletions, there's not a whole lot that can be done to influence those, whether it's Down syndrome or DiGeorge or 18p or 16p, like some of the kids I've taken care of. I'm not going to change the way that God built you. But if you study epigenetics, I know that there are things that I can do to influence your genes to do a better job. So just for example, I have 2 nieces with Down syndrome. In Down syndrome, you have certain genes that are over or under expressed. I can use certain nutrients to change the way that your body produces or reduces production of certain enzymes. And those enzymes are ultimately what drive life processes. So I can use things like glutathione to improve detoxification. I can use turmeric and resveratrol. If I need to calm down a specific division of your immune system, I might need sulforaphane. I might need zinc. I might need skullcap. Like, you can do things to do what's called modulation or balancing to turn on or off these things. Genes load the gun, they don't pull the trigger. That's our lifestyle that does that. So I am kind of loath to believe that there's nothing we can do here. I call bullshit. You just didn't look hard. There's always things you can do. You can clean up diet, you can clean up lifestyle, you can make sure we're doing filtered water, or if you're doing RO water, that you're putting in minerals. You can make sure that their air quality is good. You can get them off the damn processed food. Like, there's things that can be done. So to say there's nothing we can do here, no, there's nothing you can do here. Let somebody else with some ideas step up to the plate. So, with regard to how much is genetic, well, some, but don't ever let that be a pass for you to say, well, there's nothing I can do. No, there's something you can do.
Well, it influences when you think about, a lot of these genetic testing now that they've come out with in the last 10, 15 years, it sets that person up mentally for failure.
Yeah.
So don't ever let something like that influence. And I have to agree with you 100%. I do not care what you can have testing done until the cows come home. It's still at a very organic level of what you can do to make sure that your health is, the whole thing with biohacking. I have read a ton about that. There is a lot of legitimacy in that, and that you can truly change your immune response to just about anything. So yeah, very, very interesting. Any last closing words of wisdom?
Oh, how wise do I feel today?
Mr. A 10.
When it comes down to it, as I mentioned before, at the end of the day, we're all we only have the choices that we've made. That's what's going to determine your life, determine your health. I don't want you to feel alone in the process, because I really believe that there are resources out there for people. And you may not have the time, you may not have the budget, you may not be able to get to that provider, but that doesn't mean that there aren't great resources out there. Like, you want a book recommendation? I've got probably 5. Like, if you need help, reach out. Don't be afraid to ask for it. Don't be afraid to demand it. I would say that would be the big take home for today is, you are not a victim of your circumstances. You have that ability to make even small changes that will start to move your health and your life in the right direction. And if you need more guidance, if you can't afford one-on-one, get a recorded class and start there. If you can't afford one-on-one and you need help finding a provider, reach out to me, or go to Institute of Functional Medicine or Functional Medicine University, check out their provider lists, and just start taking those small steps.
Yep.
You'll get there.
Okay. So you brought it up. What would be your book recommendation? Just one.
Oh, goodness. For which topic? If you want to talk vaccines, Dissolving Illusions by Suzanne Humphries. If you want to talk about the importance of the nervous system and belief systems on influencing health, The Biology of Belief by Dr. Bruce Lipton. You want to talk about rearing children, and helping them to kind of maximize potential of brain development and help to influence who they know themselves to be as a person. The Whole Brain Child. Oh goodness. Best overall book, Being Mortal by Atul Gawande. The best I've ever read about end of life care. Just fundamentally a great book.
Oh,
so
awesome. Okay. So we have the book. I'm sorry.
I said that's just a few.
I love it. I love it. Out of the ones you recommend, I haven't read 2. So I'm making my list here. Okay. So to close up, where can people find you? And, you said you have some classes that are available. Where do people connect with you at?
It's www, of course, .health-redefined.com. That is my website that my functional classes are hosted on. If you needed to reach out to me, it's health-redefined.drballard@gmail.com, and doctor is just dr Ballard at gmail.com. So if you need to send me an email, you can find me there. On Instagram, oh goodness sakes, I don't even remember my Health Redefined Instagram handle. You can follow my office Instagram, which is ballardfamilychiro.com. If you'd like. My personal one is Abbie J. Ballard, but in truth, I don't post a ton on it. You can find me at those locations, and you can connect to my Instagram on my Health Redefined website. I think it's health redefined.Dr. Ballard. I'm sorry, I don't remember
Oh,
this.
that's okay. You know what we'll do? We'll find it and we'll put it on the end credits for the outro. So we'll put all of your contact information up there. And, you know, people have easy access to you. I highly, highly encourage you guys. This was enlightening. I learned some amazing stuff today. Get on her website, get her courses. And this is about you being on a better path of health, right? So, you know, you've got to plug into the experts. You've got to plug into the people that have done the work, that have had the results. And, you know, Dr. Abbie definitely has done that. And especially with her through her practice over the last 15 years, which is incredible. And you are a young woman still. You have so many more people to, you know, literally help to heal, to educate. But the best part is, you guys, she has got an insane course for value for you. So what you're going to do, you're going to scan her QR code that's going to come up here at the end. And Abbie, you had actually presented this, and it was surrounding the thyroid, but as a larger context. So can you tell people a little bit about this free course that you're going to give them?
Absolutely. I did this lecture for a women's health event, and they asked me to talk about the thyroid, but I really didn't want it to be just another thyroid presentation where we're talking about T3 or T4. I didn't want that. I wanted people to understand that if you truly want to heal the thyroid, you can't work only on the thyroid. It's just not the way that the body is set up. So I recorded this class to explain the thyroid in the context of the body and how it actually works. So I go through the thyroid's connectedness to the adrenals, to the female hormones, to blood sugar, so that you really get an overview of, okay, I've been seeing this endocrinologist for years. I'm only on thyroid medicines, and I'm just going to continue these for the rest of my life. No, you're not. You're going to start looking at the other things that help to create stability in the thyroid so that then you can heal it and get off those meds. And that's what this class is about, is helping you to understand those other components that create and drive thyroid health as much as just the production of thyroid hormones. So that's what the class is about. And if you love it, you watch me, you get to see a little bit of my teaching style. And if you decide that, hey, this gal has some things to say that I need to know, at the end of that, you can sign up for our newsletter. You can join us in that newsletter. I'll email over a coupon code for you as well, so that you can start to enjoy some of my other classes and expand that learning, especially when it comes to the thyroid.
Awesome. Awesome. Abbie, I can't wait to share you with the world. Yeah, thanks so much. And you guys, again, we're going to put all of her information up for you. And we're so honored to have you here today. And thank you again so much. You guys, I'm going to sign up because I want to hear what Abbie has to say. You guys, make sure that you're following me on Simple Wealth, both on Apple, Spotify, and our YouTube, youtube.com/effing simple, EFFING simple. And make sure you're sharing our sessions here. So happy to have you on. And let me know, drop down in the comments what you learned today, and drop down also to what you would like to hear more on. All right, you guys, thanks so much. Take care. Mwah. Love you. Bye-bye.